everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham FC football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me this week is most of the team. Mozza, how you doing, mate?
Very good. Thank you for my background flag, Mr. Woolford. Quick impression, also. Mozza on the back. Find me in the hammy.
Ecstatic.
Don't. So it's in
AJ,
safekeeping for when needed.
AJ, how you doing, mate?
I'm good as gold. Looking forward to the game this weekend.
Matt, welcome back to your second episode, mate. How you doing?
Thank you for having me back. Well, looking forward to this game coming up.
And joining us for his first episode on the main show, he has sat down and recorded a couple of episodes with me and AJ on some other projects that we were doing, but this is his first official appearance on Ful-on. How you doing, Carl? Welcome to the team.
Good evening, lads. I'm good, thank you. And also thank you for my little flag up the Fulham. Looking forward to get involved. Looking forward to the weekend as well.
Yeah, we've a very, very welcome distraction this weekend from what has been a woeful transfer window with the friendly coming up this Saturday at Craven Cottage against Frankfurt. A game that some people are really looking forward to. Unfortunately, I think only Mozza's the only one out of all of us that are actually going to the game. Sadly, I'm going to miss it. So I'm watching my daughter perform in the summer camp performance, so I'm not going to be there. But the rest of us might just catch it. Mozza, as the one going to the game, mate. Looking forward to being back at the cottage. Looking forward to watching the game.
Yeah, I am. I'm always excited. I get the adrenaline rush whenever I'm walking to Craven Cottage. Going with my classic partner in crime, my mum, Claire Morris. Who I share a season ticket with, but we're both going to this together. We're both going to Brighton away together. I'm saying that because I'm more intrigued than excited about this. And that is because if you look at the last 4 or 5 friendlies we've had now, I don't know usually how seriously myself or you guys or anyone else takes pre-season friendlies. But I think in the current situation that our club is in, it's worth just taking a very brief overview at. And if anyone wants to add anything at any time, please do, because I just want to ramble for 1 or 2 minutes. I'm only going to go over the last 4 or 5 games that we've had. Starting with Fulham's 1-0 win over West Bromwich Albion. You'll be pleased to know Emile Smith-Rowe scored, and I don't say that in a facetious way, because where we've been worried about his form since he joined us, we were saying whatever it is, whatever the issue was, be it a psychological problem or whatever, or not, well, in other words, not in the right mindset. I think that is a fairly positive thing, but I'm not going to slag off whatever opposition we're against at the moment. So, and then we move on to Portugal. Ash, I must ask, did your brother end up going out to these games that were behind closed doors very quick?
Well, he did, mate. He got out to Portugal for the whole trip they were out there. I believe they managed to watch them behind closed doors in a pub somewhere in the middle of Portugal. I know from many videos and many phone calls that he was very drunk most of the time. So if they didn't get to see the game, then most of the lads out there had a great time following the Whites. So it was good for them.
Understandable. I'm glad he made the best of it. In fact, I've even skipped the Portugal game beforehand. 4-1 against Aberdeen, Scottish Cup winners. I haven't got like the full squad lineups here, and they chop and change. But it says Marco Silva gave minutes to 21 players. That was a behind closed doors friendly. Wilson scored, Iwobi assist, Castagne fouled. Not looking good, is it? Muniz with an assist from Reed. Harrison Reed, someone that I want to see more of. Unfortunately, when us boys went up to Villa away, he went off injured, and that was his season finished. But who knows what happened? And of course, Josh King scored with an assist from Marshall Guddo. I am reading this off the Fulham website, and I will say why in a minute, because there seems to be, where I want to be positive here, there seems to be quite a lot lack of details. I don't know why, but we move on to the victory against Nottingham Forest 3-1. At the Portugal training camp, Harry Wilson, the Welsh wizard, as they're calling him. And it's a shame Drew's not here because Andreas Pereira is named as one of several changes who increased the advantage to 2-0 with a Chris Wood's header. Chris Wood, what do we think? Someone that we want to see more of? I mean, don't all say yes at once.
Yeah.
Well, that says it all. Anyway, the game ended 3-1. Have I got a delay or a lag here? Anyway, I'm not. I really don't mean to take the mick here, but we had a pre-season friendly next against Saudi Pro League champions Al Ittihad. You can watch the highlights on the Fulham website. They're about 8 minutes long, commentated by the wonderful gentleman Jim, who seriously I've got a lot of love and respect for. But if any of you suffer from insomnia, I believe he might be the cure for it if you listen to him, because even he can't get excited in that victory over Al Ittihad. And then lastly, we come to, I think, what I see is our loss 3-2 against Sheffield United, narrowly beaten in a 120-minute long training match at Mozza Park. Again, Emil Smith-Rowe opened the scoring after 15 minutes. Sessegnon assist. I won't go through it all, but again, shame Drew's not here because apparently Raul got a assist from a Pereira corner. So, I mean, odds on he will be still taking set pieces for the rest of our season. George Cuenca and Iwobi both hit the woodwork. I mentioned them both because we know Iwobi ran out of steam towards the end of the season, as did quite a fair few of our players. Cuenca, I want to see a bit more of, and also Marshall Godot. It says he rattled the woodwork, and we mentioned his name a lot in the latter half of the season of players we wanted to see more of, and he, for whatever reason, seemed to miss out. But I want to sort of just mention him and, well, outline him the most, because when I saw him play, in the few minutes that he did have last season, he was shit hot, as was people like Josh King. And I don't say this with hyperbole because he has got quite a sensational story of how he's made it to where he has. And I think he deserves the time. So whatever pre-season friendlies we've got left, well, Frankfurt coming up, they finished third in the Bundesliga last season. I don't know what happened to them in the Champions League. Guess what? I've got no reason to ever watch the Champions League. So I don't know how they fared in that, but they're not to be sniffed at. I don't really know their squad that well, with not a great deal of knowledge on European football. But I am intrigued to see what squad we put out. Do we put out what players are only available? I don't know, but I will be reporting on it after Saturday. I don't have... I'm under no illusion that it will be a victory. Does it matter? Yes and no, but for me it's more about how the players who play, what ones are selected and how they play, how we fare. Blimey, is it odds on that Emil Smith-Rowe will score again? Who knows?
Let's sort of, you've done a great job of breaking down pre-season there, because obviously we haven't really covered it much ourselves. We go into this game against a really tough opposition. Frankfurt are a really good team. They held themselves exceptionally well last year in the Bundesliga. They finished third above Borussia Dortmund. I think they had the second lowest amount of losses out of anybody in the league. The only team that lost less than them was Bayern Munich, who obviously went on to win the league, which isn't really a shock. They're a very, very good team. They've got Champions League football this season. They have had a bit of a mixed bag pre-season themselves, but their season doesn't start for a couple more weeks, so they have a couple more pre-season friendlies after this one, where this is our last game. AJ, going into this one, knowing that obviously the season starts next week, I don't think the result matters too much. Personally, I don't think they ever do in pre-season friendlies. I think it's all more about the application and the performance. one thing that we do know is this squad know each other back inside and out, because there's been no new additions to interrupt them not knowing each other inside and out. What do you really want to see on Saturday? What's the most important thing for you going into this game?
To be honest, the most important thing for me is just to maintain fitness and to make sure that we don't walk away with any silly injuries from overplaying ourselves. We're a week away from the season with no new additions apart from a backup goalkeeper. And realistically, it's going to cost us if we get a serious injury or even a silly knock. At this stage, even if we got rolled over in the friendly, as long as we went into it ensuring the fitness of all the players, by the end of it, I really don't mind losing this one. Like, I'd love to be competitive and go up against the Champions League side and go, yeah, we can roll them over and we're good quality. But I think, one, a heavy loss to Frankfurt potentially, I know it's a friendly, but potentially might make the board go, okay, we're not European ready yet. Let's try and bolster the squad a little bit. And two, as long as we don't try too hard and we retain fitness, it means that we can be competitive in the early games of the Premier League and hope that the players come before the close of the window, because we still have, 2-3 weeks from the first fixture until the end of the transfer window, which is realistically, if we're going to do any business, where we'll probably end up doing it, which means that they'll then have to integrate into the squad past that. So realistically, it won't be until mid-October until we're starting to see bright sparks of new players being integrated into the squad and starting to look themselves, especially if they're coming from abroad. So we need our players that were playing last season to be at their best in the opening run, and then hope that any new players we do sign, assuming we do, pick up where they start, because that's where we failed last season. We had Iwobi start like a house on fire at the beginning of last season, and then he wasn't dropped for 38 games because Marco just assumed that he'd carry on his run of form, when in reality he got tired, legs started to waver, and it was like a season. It was like a season of two halves for him. One was tremendous, one was awful. And realistically, had we had a big enough player to replace him that Marco was comfortable with, he probably would have been dropped. But I think Marco was so insistent on trying to get that form back out of a player because he saw it earlier in the season. He neglected the fact that, one, he was tired, and two, that we could have played Godot. But that's because of his trust in more senior players.
Yeah, I think that we know the frustration. We made it abundantly clear as a show last year how frustrated we were that youth players weren't getting a shout. And I think that, Matt, we look at this game on Saturday, it's going to be a really good chance to see some of these youngsters, especially Josh King and Martial Godot, but I imagine they both will get a decent amount of time in the game to sort of show how they have integrated in really, really well with the first team. What do you expect to see there with the youth players, especially coming in?
I think it'll be good. There will be lots of flair coming from, especially with Josh King. Every time he played last season, he just ran and ran and ran and ran. It was intriguing to see last season, and I'm shocked that he was dropped for the 21s instead of playing for us as the main team. Because there's so much brilliance about him. The runs he makes, the passes that he makes, he plays like he's been playing for 20 years. He plays with like a old head almost. And even though he is only 17, every time he get hit down and knocked down and tackled bad, he got up, carried on. Gatto, I didn't see much of him last season. I don't really know much about the way he plays. From what I've seen, it's good. And I do think if we were to integrate the two of them into the starting lineup, it would bring brilliance to the team. Aldrin, obviously, with Iwobi, and Aldrin Josh King with Pereira. There's with our youth system, that's the world's our oyster. We'll get so much talent in there that you could throw a coin and hit talent.
Yeah, I think for me, I think that what I've been really frustrated by this transfer window. I'm so angry about the fact we brought nobody in, but part of me is actually a little bit excited by the fact that it might mean that we're almost forced to give some of these youth players a chance. It looks like Marco. We know Marco's reluctance for it, but he might actually get to a position where he has no choice. He's going to have to dip into the youth squad in order to, just have a matchday squad that's fit. Kyle, your first question on the show really is that I asked AJ about what we want from Saturday. Results. I don't think the result means anything. We've got a big opening game of the season, right? Realistically, we need to come out of this game big confident of what our starting 11 is going to be going into that game against Brighton. Do you think that Marco will probably try to start with that team on Saturday, or do you think we're going to see what we have seen in pre-season so far, where we've basically seen two massively different squads play either half of the game, like we did against in the 120-minute game against Sheffield United? But I think two sets of teams got 80 minutes each, whatever it was. What are you expecting us to see squad-wise on Saturday, preparing for the Brighton game coming up the week later?
So what I would expect and what I would want is basically, it's a pre-season friendly. They don't mean anything. Like I've always said it, pre-season friendlies are just like training games. You've got, like you say, on Saturday there's a game. It's not a big game. So I would like to see the young ones play. Maybe a half, like you said, if they're doing 120 minutes, then do half each. Because if we play, for example, Muniz, which I don't think we'll play because he's going, but if we play our main players, Harry Wilson, he gets injured, that's another vital player that we're going to miss for so many weeks of the season. I like Josh King, but a rumour is that the board are not allowing our youngsters to play because they're scared of them getting snapped up by the bigger clubs, and then we won't have a good back set, if that makes sense. So you look at what happened with Harvey Elliott, Fabio Cavello. Do you know what I mean? So, but on Saturday, I'll be very surprised if he plays a very strong 11. I would personally play two halves, two teams, because injuries.
For me, I think it's a question for fitness now, right? And I think they're going into the game against Brighton, who we know, no matter what they do transfer window wise, they always try to play very fast, transitional football, and we're gonna have to be up there for time. I won't be too surprised on Saturday, personally, if we see our strongest 11 start the game and then play on to that 60th, 70th minute, and then we start bringing a load of changes. I wouldn't be so surprised with that. I think everyone here is correct in what we said so far, that the most important thing is, especially with the size of our squad and the transfer window that we've had, that we don't pick up any injuries, because it could be an absolute disaster for us. If we pick up even one injury in almost any position. And the weird thing is that, I mean in any position, because the only position now that I'm comfortable that we have enough covering is a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Because everywhere else on the pitch we just don't. It's one of those really odd things. I think when we look at the game on Saturday, we're playing a really tough opposition who, play football the right way. They always have done. You look at their manager, their managers that they've had over the last couple of years. Oliver Glasner did a great job as their manager, won the European Cup, right? And then you look at Dino Totmiller, who is again a very good coach, and they will have them play attractive football. I think Fulham have done really well with the teams that we've chosen to play pre-season this year, because they like to play the type of football that we struggled to play against a bit last season. I found it interesting that we ignore the Sheffield United game, because no one knows what happened in that game. We don't really know what happened in it. But when you look at the the Etihad game. You look at the Forest games in particular, because if you were lucky enough to watch them, you see them. The game style that we played in both those games was actually almost sort of something that we tried not to do quite a lot last season. There was an awful lot of trying to push ourselves to play the style of football that Marco doesn't always like to play, which is great because it means that we're practicing when things aren't going our way in games, which is really nice because it's nice to have that ability to be able to do that. We've moaned forever that Fulham have no plan B and we have no second style. We only have one way to play, and that is it. It'd be nice if Marco had a bigger squad to be able to do that with, but at the moment that just hasn't come to light for whatever reason that is. You hear many rumours this week about Fulham are worried about the new financial regulations that are coming in. You hear that some absolute rubbish that came out today, about the club being happy with the squad size and the squad depth, when less than a month ago Marco Silva was quoted for saying he understands why the fan feels because he's frustrated on the squad side himself. It's one of those things. Before we go around and we sort of we'll have a fun crack at, I guess, at scoreline. It's pre-season, it could be bloody anything. We have to discuss that really. We're all frustrated by the transfer. We're all frustrated by the fact that this squad probably isn't where it should be, just during the amount of time Fulham have had to prepare for it. But we all acknowledged on our Wednesday episode this week that actually our starting 11 is pretty decent. It's the backup, it's the cover, it's the extra players you need in your squad to push on. So weirdly, we'll go around and double check with you guys, but I'm in a really odd position where I'm actually quite comfortable with the starting 11 at Fulham at the moment, but I really wish they would just add a bit of quality and a bit of difference. We'll see where that goes. Mozza, before you give us a scoreline prediction in a minute, mate, is there anything that you want to see happen on Saturday personally? Is there anything that we know that we still don't really know what's going on with Muniz, who he's staying, is going. He's heavily rumored to be leaving, but we haven't actually heard anything particularly about bids coming in. Him playing on Saturday and him performing would actually be a statement, I think, about the club's intentions. What are you expecting?
Well, on that note, and again we touched on it on the last pod. I've seen bits and bobs, rumours about Muniz going. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. We talked about the wages that he's on and possibly what we can only be sceptical or theorise what his long-term plan might be given his age. Sorry, what was the original question? Because my mind is going 100 miles an hour. So, what do I expect the result to be?
Well, it's more of a case of like, what do you want to see on Saturday? What was it you want to see on Saturday? Is it style over substance, or is it like what do you want to see?
It is style over substance. Sorry, my brain going like that. So many things to think about in a weird way when there's not a lot to think about supporting Fulham. But yeah, style over substance. I do want to see some quality. I do want to see some more of the youth players get started. I don't know really. I don't answer all at once yet. But I guess I'll throw it out. What would we all prefer rhetorically? The more unexperienced players starting, or it being the other way round. What Carl's just said about injuries, that is a worry, and I do agree. Like pre-season friendlies, they don't really mean anything. But as I stated at the start of my rant at the beginning, I think in our situation, they mean something to us from our perspective as fans, supporters of the club, in what we might have in store for the rest of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if we would get done 5-0 this Saturday, to be honest. But would I be bothered? No. Would I be happy if we still gave more than a half-high performance? Yes. It's not a final, is it, anymore? It's not like Marco Silva was saying towards the end of our season, but then, knowing my luck, I've just said this, and we'll beat Frankfurt 5-0. But are they going to be playing their B team? Are they going to be playing their C team? Probably neither. Who knows? I don't know. I ain't got a crystal ball in front of me. But I'm not going in there with any expectations, is what I'm trying to say. But I do just want to see some quality from our players. I've mentioned Emil Smith-Rowe a few times. And I hope he plays because I want to see a difference in him. He's been my biggest concern when we did our awards episode of players. Like, I think, did we all vote him the most sort of disappointing player that we got before the start of the season? He's a major concern. So, I'll have my eye on him and a few others. And I hope if Ryan Sessegnon plays, it's not at left back.
We'll see. Let's wrap this one up, lads. We do like to just do these 25-minute shows anyway when we do previews. But before we go, I want to get a scoreline prediction, even though this one has no meaning on it, so it'll just be a bit of fun. AJ, the usual question with these ones, mate. A player to watch out for. I don't expect you to have an insider knowledge on the Frankfurt team to have a player to look out for, so don't worry about that. Just give us a player to watch out for Fulham and a scoreline prediction, please.
Well, I will give you a Frankfurt player. I will go with Batshuayi or Bahi, who are both their forwards and will be probably a good test for potentially a couple of different centre-back lineups in what I'm expecting will be a game of two halves, as in two different squads. From Fulham, who do I expect to do well? I think all eyes are on Josh King, really. I think it's just one of those. They've been on him all season. He's been performing well all season. He really encourages the level of our press from the front four. His level of energy in comparison to the likes of ESR really makes a difference in that midfield. And I think he's one to watch. Score prediction, I'm going to go 4-4.
Oh, wow. Okay. Someone's looking for entertainment on Saturday. Matt, how about you, mate? Give us a player to watch out for the scoreline prediction, please.
So I've got one for Frankfurt. It's Ritsu, who they have just signed, is apparently meant to be the up-and-coming winger. He's Japanese. I think he could cause us some problems. For us, it's like AJ said, Josh King. We need to start him. We need to see how he fares against a bigger club, so to speak. I reckon score-wise, it's going to be 3-2 Fulham if we start our youngsters.
Cool. Good shout. Carl, how about you, mate? Same for you.
I've got one for Frankfurt. He is a bit of a veteran, and I think he might play because he's experienced with the young ones around him. Is Mario Götze. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been around. He knows his football. So yeah, for Fulham, I could say Josh King. I could say Godot if he comes on, but I know that they will perform. So I would like to see Smith-Rowe carry on if he plays, carry on his performance that he's been doing through pre-season, because he's got a couple of assists, a few goals, and then build his confidence up for the start of the season, and then he could be a vital player for us. And score, I'm going to go 3-1 Fulham, Smith-Rowe goal.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Mozza, and you, mate. Player to watch and the scoreline prediction, please.
Well, I pretty much gave it away with my last ramble. My apologies, but I'm going to go with Smith-Rowe. Can I say 5-0 each way?
So 5-all.
Well, could go 5-0 one side, 5-0 the other. I feel like I've spoken much like one of our former managers, Alex Starr, over the years. If anyone's watched the Fast Show, Ron Manager, good character based on him. Showing my age. Anyway.
Well, for me, I really like Kevin Trapp. He's been a goalkeeper that I really liked watching play for a very long time. I do watch a bit of German football here and there. So I've always really liked watching him play. I think he's a good goalkeeper. So I want to see us getting him busy on Saturday to prove just how much of a good goalkeeper he is. That'd be nice. I think for me, Smith Rowe is probably a shout. I know we used him an awful lot last season, but I've actually been quite happy with the football that we've seen Smith Rowe play this pre-season. And I think that considering all the things we said about him at the end of last season, we all caveated our vote for him being a letdown with the, give him a summer, give him the time and the love and the attention he needs, and see what he comes back with in the summer. At the end of the summer, so far he's done a great job with that, and he's come in the summer and he put minutes in. Let's not ignore the fact that Harry Wilson scored some absolute bloody worldies in pre-season as well, and he seems to be on form. But it has to be Smith Rowe for me to be the player for us to watch. Scoreline prediction: it's a pre-season friendly, right? So it's going to either be a 1-1, it could be 6-all, it could be 4-all. I just see it being a draw. I don't see it being a massive runaway either side, that was as predicted. But so I'm going to say 3-all. But I'm just for me, the scoreline means nothing really on Saturday. It's more about just looking like we're prepared for the Brighton game next Saturday, because that's the big one, really, isn't it? Lads, thank you very much for joining me on this the only home pre-season friendly preview that we've done this season. It's the only home pre-season friendly. Just for everyone watching, let us know your scoreline predictions. Let us know who you're excited to see in this game. It'd be good to know. We have a few things, a bit of admin to talk about, really. The videos that we created with AJ are starting to come out soon. I think the first one's due out on Monday. AJ, what is the first video that you're released in your series of fun?
It is what every YouTuber is doing nowadays, and it's us reacting to other people's content. You'll hear me make that same joke in the video. We reacted to the 2025 football TikTok clips, best football clips of 2025, basically. Me, Kyle, Ash, and was it just the three of us? Yes, it was just the three of us. Had a really good time with that one. You get to hear some stories from Ash's past and his wedding day. You get to hear some tales of Kyle's footballing friends and their friends with ridiculous haircuts. It was all spectacular good. It was all spectacularly good fun. Please go ahead and watch it on Monday and keep your eyes peeled. It's if you like the content, feel free to let us know and we'll make some more of it.
We'll be doing a match review of the preseason friendly on Saturday. Likely that'll be recorded on Tuesday and come out Wednesday next week. Before we get ready for the first big one, which is the Brighton preview. That'll be obviously next Friday for the season starter. Lads, thank you very much for joining me. Mozza, enjoy the game on Saturday. You'll be the one who's expected to give us a proper breakdown of everything that's going on. Hopefully the rest of us can catch it and give some sort of review. Lads, have a good weekend and we'll speak to you soon. There's nothing more to say really other than come on you Whites.
Go on, Fulham.